All right, let's say you're not happy with your options on getting your data out. You have the interest and time to create your own stuff. So a couple things. We'll do it with a simple page here. Notice it's the 1, 2, 3rd page, and if we change the order, it would change and it would matter. So that's something to know. I'll show you where in just a minute, but the first thing we want to do is make sure it's published to the web. That makes it all open and visible for us when we go to get the JSON. You can also file publish it to the web, as we recall, perhaps from the other piece, as comma separated values or tabs or whatever. You can do all that sort of stuff and could use it in different ways or even within JavaScript. But for me, JavaScript is easiest with JSON, and that's going to come out the box, although it's not obvious where to get it necessarily. So we just publish to the web, and then at this particular URL, which I'll show you in our example, we have essentially our ID for our sheet, and then the number, the workbook, I guess, and then the sheet is number 3. That's right there. And then this little appending gets us JSON. And notice I have my plugin that helps me see it, because raw, this wouldn't be much harder to parse, right? So if we put it in parse, now we can kind of see through the pieces. We can close up some stuff and start to see, hey, there's some patterns here. As a matter of fact, under entry, we start to see the data we entered. Title, T, Tembly, so you can start to see where this stuff lives and how to get at it, and it's named different stuff, and you can parse it out. Anyway, I'm not going to try to read that stuff to you. I think what's helpful is to see the example. So this may look a little intimidating if you don't do a ton of JavaScript stuff, but what I try to do is comment it up where the only places you're going to change things are the places with a bunch of asterisks. So here is where you would put your workbook ID. Here is where you would put your page number, and then it builds you your feed URL. Now I added this, which is nice and handy because it will write your URL here, and you can click on it and make sure it works. So if you clicked on it and you didn't see something here, you'd know your URL wasn't working. And this is just in console under the developer's tools. So this stuff is also all standard pretty much down to here, which is where you start deciding, like, hey, what do I want to happen here? So in our example, we're just going to build these little divs with the name and the age displayed on it. And all we're doing is getting the little JSON object there, the element, the path to the name, and the same thing with age, and then we can build it into a little bit of templated JavaScript here and just kind of stick that in this div that's identified as the ID, the names. So this isn't meant to be a full-on how to do JavaScript thing, so I try to do it in as simple a way as possible, and then you can start kind of messing around with things. Uncommenting these console pieces will give you additional information, and you can keep looking in that log and kind of figure stuff out. That's what I do. That's how I learned how to do it. Hopefully, it'll be useful for you. And then what you can do as well is kind of mix in some CSS to start it behaving the way you want. So nothing fancy here, but starting to hint at what is possible.